Coaching in Session.
Your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
I've talked about past couple of weeks how I've been down and out with some crazy flu. I call it the yo-yo flu, where one day you feel really good and one day you just don't feel good. And one of the symptoms that I was feeling was I had like super low energy, like I was lethargic. And then the other symptom, which was even more weird for me, was that there was an immense amount of brain fog. And I asked myself, where in the world did all this brain fog come from? Like, did I not check the weather? Like, did I not pay attention to what was happening in the system or on the radars? And sure enough, it came through and I couldn't see through. And sometimes with this brain fog, in the sense of what it is to the mind rather than what fog is to weather and mist, is that it makes it more difficult for the mind to see what is not only possible, but what you have to do to make the things possible. For example, one of the things that I do religiously when it comes to the podcast is that we record and then that we are getting those episodes as quickly as we can out to the guests and then, of course, to you. We are a bit ahead because sometimes life can happen, and I have learned that early on with the podcast, is that sometimes you have to be prepared for what could go wrong. But then again, you're not living life like something would go wrong. For example, if you're in a car, you have insurance for your car. If not, stay away from the police. They're going to come get you and say you need to have insurance while you're driving. And rightfully so. You don't want to get in a car accident and then someone gets hurt and then there is no way for you to pay. And then now you are going to be in debt because of the hospital bills. And I mean, it's just something that we can avoid, right? And we do our best to make sure that we are street legal and that we're doing the right things. But the aspect of us driving is that we have insurance just in case. But then again, we don't get in accidents every day. So how many people, when I know I'm one of them sometimes because I pay a lot of money for insurance, I say, do I even need this insurance? Do I need full coverage? Can I just get liability? And then sure enough, something happens. For example, we have hailstorms here in Texas. And one day I was on a trip. The car was out. It wasn't in the garage. It was because I wasn't home. The hail came through and wrecked up the car. The car got totaled. And sure enough, I called my insurance and they go, luckily you have full coverage. And I go, thank goodness that I said I didn't need this full coverage. Well, it was something that I had to see. Where if nothing has happened to you, you might say, well, nothing happens to me. I'm a good driver. I'm a safe driver. Everything goes good. And then I think about like the other time I got in a car accident. It was like 2010. I'm telling you about all my car accidents. So you have my driving record now, where I was rear-ended by someone. He didn't have insurance. And luckily I had insurance, full coverage. And then they were able to say, okay, well, you can use your coverage. And I was able to get my car fixed and all the medical bills paid with the insurance. Now, like I said, some people, they might look at aspects of their life and say, well, why is this important? Because it's not important yet. It's not important right now. We can, of course, use wisdom to say why something's important and then do it. But then again, if it's not necessarily meaningful, we don't necessarily give it any meaning. I think of that time when I was sick again. During the time when I was sick, I have a rule. Do not go work out. Do not go to the gym. Do not give your body any more problems, because when I work out hard. Any more things to fix because I'm already broken. All right, I was broken. And if I gave myself more things to repair, I would have been sick still to this day. I would have still been down and out. I would have still been flu-like symptoms or lethargic or brain fog. There would have been all of these things still wrong with me. But I knew through wisdom, it's okay to take it easy. Not easy in the sense of do nothing and watch some TV all day, but to get my sleep, to eat better, to drink my electrolytes. All of these things that might seem mundane are the things that are so important to tomorrow. So the brain fog thing was something I had to deal with. It wasn't so much of an easy fix either. Hey, take this and you're going to feel right okay. For example, lion's mane can help you with focus. well, I could have taken all the lion mane in the world and it wouldn't have done much for me. Or certain types of mushrooms are supposed to be helpful. So you have mushroom tea. And of course, yeah, it might give you some energy, some level of focus, but it would just be a band-aid. And I'm more of a let's get to the root cause of what's the problem and not look for just a Tylenol or an Advil to mask what is happening in my life. So the brain fog was something that I wanted to deal with, not just temporarily, but primarily. So I said, how can I get my brain to be more focused, to get more primed to what I want to do? Because right now, my mind is not doing what it needs to do. It is not focused. It's not showing up for the guests. It's not showing up for my family. And it's not showing up for my work and my writings and everything. So I said, well, if it's not showing up, how can I get it to show up? Well, it was no simple fix of, hey, let me go journal, let me go in the forest, let me go do some yoga. It was something where I had to understand that regardless of how I was feeling, I had to figure out what my percent was. And so if I was 10%, which I was probably 10% some days, I said, well, what can I do that's 10% today? And so I would do whatever it was that was 10% today. I would write a script or I would do some blog work and I would just do what I could that day. And of course, there was parts of my mind saying, but this is insignificant compared to what I was doing in my life. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff in my day. So it's only natural to understand that a sick version of myself is going to do way less than a healthy version of myself. How can I get back to that healthy version of myself? Well, brain fog is more than just you are sick and then you get brain fog. Some people, they get brain fog and they have no ailments in their life because brain fog is a mindset where our mind is so cluttered with everything that is happening. And sometimes our body can be the proponent where it doesn't give us the access to think freely. Now, of course, we have our conscious that is going to still be available to us. We get to make a choice. Do we get out of bed? Do we take a shower today? Do we eat Taco Bell or do we eat Burger King, right? We can make those choices still. Those are low energy choices. I'm talking about the big stuff, the big energy choices. For example, going to the gym. That could be a medium energy choice. Maybe doing part of your chapters in your book, right? That could be a big energy choice. Maybe spending time with your family. That could be a medium energy choice. And so you have to look at how much energy you have versus the choices that you're trying to make. So sometimes you might have a little bit of energy and you have to figure out how you're going to make this low energy, middle energy. And so you do those things and it can have some repercussions, of course. But the idea is that you are still making slow, steady progress to a better tomorrow. Now, the better tomorrow can be in a week, it could be in a month, it could be in a year. Because I remember during the time when I was sick, I was just thinking about how not to be sick. And I talk about this all the time because when you are sick, there is nothing more that you want than to feel normal again, to feel like you were. Not so much just to feel better. You just want to feel like you were. And then, of course, maybe you could start to make yourself to feel better. And of course, you start to think about how can I make sure I don't feel this way again? Now, I wasn't going out to the store and saying, hey, let me go purchase this flu and put it on my hands and rub it all over my face and be sick like that. Like, I didn't do that. It was just one of the things that came to me. And I said, well, life sometimes can happen like that. And so my brain at that time, like I said, it was not focused. It was not clear. Like, it was hard to do things. If I had to write something, I was like, what do I do? If I have to do all this stuff with my assistants and have to do stuff with the podcast, I'm like, wait, what's going on? And during that time, one of the things I did was I leaned on support because I knew that I didn't have it all. And so I told my team, I said, listen, I'm down and out. Basically, I need to recover. I need to focus on my health. One of the things I did was I said, I'm going to take a step back and there's going to be certain things that I'm not going to do. You can do them. You can fill in the spaces where I would typically do, or you could just wait until everything is back to normal and I will play catch up. And some of the things I had to play catch up with, but it didn't take too long. And then there was aspects where things got covered and then we fixed it at the end of everything, right? because it wasn't going to be 100% perfect, especially when you weren't 100%. Of course, you can give yourself a mindset that it's okay to be insignificant or to do insignificant work because you're not feeling a certain way. But how many people don't feel 100% that still show up? Imagine if you were an Olympian and you had a stomach ailment on the day of the big race. Are you going to say, well, I can't run the race because I have a stomach ailment? No, you're going to say, I'm going to do the best damn job I can. And so you go out and you run the race. I think of the story with Michael Jordan, and he was in one of the big games, and they said that he had a flu, but apparently it was like food poisoning or something. But then again, it could lead to flu-like symptoms where he was super low energy. He was probably dehydrated and he was struggling. All right. But he was able to transform himself that day, and everyone saw it. Everyone saw who Michael Jordan was. This is why we consider him one of the greats. Not because he can play sick, right? Not because he's a go-getter and he has this ego and this personality. There's just something about him. What's there about you that's hungry enough to push through any type of negativity, any type of ailment, any type of fog that might be inhibiting your views or your trajectory in your life? This fog was something I thought would never go away when I was in it. I said, man, I'm always going to be like this. My brain is fried now. All right. And there's nothing I can do. There's no amount of books I could read, no amount of blogs I can write, no amount of podcasts I can record that is going to make this go away, I thought. Well, I was probably around 70 to 80%. And it took so long for me to even get into the 90s of the percentages. And I was like, man, like, what does it feel like to be at 100%? I said, I forgot how it feels like to be at 100%. Do you know what it is to be at 100%? Have you forgotten what that is? Because most people are living subpar from what they're truly capable of. And I'm talking about 100% where everyone wonders, heck, how do you do it? How do you do what you do? That's 100%. And you go, I don't even know. I just do it, right? It needs to be done, so it gets done. And it gets done in a way where it's not just half-ass. It gets done. And I'm talking about like it's a masterpiece. You didn't rush. You didn't just scrap together, piece together things. Everything was meticulous. And so if we can be like that with our mind, then the fog begins to dissipate some. And so the brain fog eventually one day is going to be lifted. And you're going to start to think more clearly. You're going to look at all the things that you have been doing, all the things that you have not been doing, the things that you have been putting off, the things that have been an option are going to start to become more of a priority. And so you might have said, oh, I'm going to go clean the garage. And so you start to clean the garage. Oh, I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to start to clean the house. There was no, I'll clean the house when I get some energy, or I'll clean the house when I get some time. It's like, I have all this to do. Let me begin. That's where brain fog begins to dissipate the best. Because when you have a list of things that you want to do or an idea of what needs to be done and you start to do it, then that's when the brain begins to get more focused and more primed. Now, this brain fog will be one day lifted, but then you have to look at the brain density in the sense of how long can you go? Can you go a week? Can you go a month? Can you go a year? Can you go a lifetime with yourself being focused on what you have to do? Because I'm sure when it comes to most people, they want to be able to do all the things that they are wanting to do, but then they give themselves a self-care day. And they don't realize that that self-care is just them being selfish of what they should be doing versus what they are doing. I rather have some time to myself to just be at peace and to be normal and to not have to stress. So you look at all of these negative stimuluses and you say, I don't want these things and I would rather have the good things. And so you forego the bad things in hope of the good things. But then when you do that, you give yourself brain fog because now your brain is not focused on doing the task. And so when you don't do a task long enough, this is when the brain fog starts to really get heavy again. So we know that in order to eliminate brain fog, it could take some time depending on our health. But then again, the health of our mind is going to be a proponent too. Of course, you can take some pills and you could take some certain drugs and some certain ingredients that are going to help you be more focused. But can we really truly be relying on these things? Because what if the world ended and there was no more lion's mane, or there was no more Wakanda mushrooms or whatever, right? I don't know. This is a certain type of mushroom. I forget what they are. There's no more sea moss. And you're like, man, like there's no more pills for me to do all the things that I wanted to do. There's no more supplements. And so I don't have the energy to do the things that I want to do. For example, like a pre-workout. I don't use pre-workout, but I know some people who do, where they use a pre-workout before they go lift. And I'm thinking in my head, why do you need a pre-workout? You should already have the energy to go lift. And then again, I understand taking a pre-workout before will definitely give you a better workout, right? Because you're giving yourself this stimulant. You're saying, oh, I got to work out. And it's nice. But then again, it's nicer not needing an external stimulus to get you going. Imagine every morning you woke up and you said, I need a cup of coffee. How many people drink a cup of coffee in the morning? I don't drink coffee. But then again, I know how many people do. How many people need to go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts to get their cup of coffee or to get their Keurig going? Yeah, sure. I understand that you can be addicted to caffeine. You can like the flavor. But the majority of people who are drinking caffeine is a placebo and or it's a stimulant to help you get going in the morning. That can lead to brain fog very easily. Because what if you don't get that stimulant in the morning? Can you function? I can't tell you how many people say, I cannot function without my cup of coffee. I cannot function without my energy drink. I cannot function without some food in my belly. Okay, sure, right? I understand all of these things are helpful, right? Especially depending on age. Children, they need breakfast to go to school and to focus. I remember when I didn't have breakfast or I had a very poor breakfast when I was growing up, I would go to school and I would daydream more than what I planned for that school day. Right? Teachers were creating lesson plans and I was creating daydream plans of all the things I was going to daydream about. I was going to daydream about video games. I was going to daydream about Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and what I was going to do with my bike and what I was going to do with my friends and hang out with my friends. And I was going to go to the park without permission. And I was thinking about all the things that I was going to be doing versus what I needed to be doing. My brain was clouded. It had a lot of distractions. So brain fog can be perhaps that you just can't think clearly, that you can't focus. And then it could be that you have a lot of distractions, a lot of things that are impeding the more important thoughts in your mind. So eliminating brain fog should be paramount in the sense of your personal development. Because if you can get your mind on track, then you can go to any destination you want in life. But then again, some of the things that you are aware of, your life, your circumstances, your current way of thinking has to sometimes be transitioned because you will continue to get the same brain fog that you had. And sometimes insight can be the best cure for brain fog to be lifted up very quickly. Now, the quickly is going to be, again, different for everyone, depending on where you are and what's happening in your life. But if you get a mentor, for example, and that mentor is guiding you, helping you along the way, they're challenging your thoughts and they're challenging your patterns, you are going to get out of this brain fog a lot sooner. Now, of course, this is not going to be for everyone. Some people, they might say, well, yeah, sure, I know it's going to help me one day, but it's not going to help me today, especially if you're in a deep state of depression, for example, because you might be in that brain fog of loss and grief. And you're like, whoa, I just lost a loved one in my life, a parent, a dog, or family member, whatever. And you say, it's hard for me to focus because I'm so distracted on what I think I want to be paying attention to or what I should be paying attention to because you value that life that was there. And so you spend time reminiscing. And sometimes when you reminisce, you fail to understand what you have to do next. So you're over here just playing catch up to stay afloat to a certain degree. And sure, that can be okay for a period of time. but something has to change long term. And so when you're having brain fog, one of the things you have to do is figure out how you can stop this way of thinking as quickly as possible. And like I said, it could take a couple of weeks, but the idea is to get your mind to be more primed to do what it has to do rather than what you would like it to do. Because anyone can think of an easy way out. Oh, I'm going to have someone take care of me, and I'm going to have the government take care of me, and I'm going to win the lotto, and I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to ask my community to support me in this time and to donate because I'm going on a different venture of my life, and I didn't like how my old life was. And so you ask yourself all of these things, and if you get down to the roots of it, you were the proponent of everything that has happened and everything that is happening. Because you can complain about how your life is going today. And sure enough, yeah, your life can not be perfect. During the times when I was dealing with that brain fog during the flu, it was not ideal. I said, I have a lot of stuff that needs my attention. And to have to sit back and relax meaning I have to go to sleep and rest and give my body energy. I understand I had to do that. But my mind and my whole being, my soul was aching. It was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to be here. But then again, there's some people in life who just reside in that place and they go, this is pretty nice, right? Because when you don't have to push and when you don't have to challenge yourself, there's nothing to think about. Most people, they just live their life on autopilot. They wait for Monday, right? Monday comes and go, I got to go to work. Friday comes, and then sure enough, they go out and they party maybe. Saturday, they go out and they party. Sunday, they go to church and they pray about partying so much and that their sins are forgiven, and then they do it again. And that's their life. That's their month. That's their year. That's their way of being. And you have to ask yourself, is that my way of being? And if it's not, or if you don't want it to be, what would you like it to be? Do you want it to be where you can be more clear on what you do, and that when you say you're going to do something, you do it, that you're punctual, that you are effective and you're efficient? All of these things are wonderful aspects to life. But then again, there's this aspect of you can be a person who says all the right things, who does all the right things, who writes down all the things in the journal, and you could be a person that gets nothing done. Is your mind focused? Is your mind clouded? And if your mind is clouded, you have to begin to do the work. And one of the ways we help people the most here at Reven Concepts, we have helped countless people on careers, and we have helped countless people in finding love in their relationships. But one of the things we do best is mindset. We help people understand where they are today and where they want to be tomorrow. And we do the work every single day to make sure that we are on a steady incline toward where we want to be able to look at our vantage. And the vantage is going to be where our life is going to be. And so we plateau, and then we break the plateau. And we plateau and we break the plateau. We climb a mountain, we climb another mountain, because it's not enough to say that we only want one goal, that we only want one destination. Mindset is not just about where we're going to be temporarily or where we're going to be on a set date and time. Mindset is about the journey. Mindset is about the paths that we're giving ourselves and what we're thinking about while we're on those paths. Because our mind can be focused and we're paying attention to all the things that we need to be paying attention to. And sometimes our mind can be distracted. And so if your mind is clouded, if you have brain fog, if your mind is not clear, it can begin to get clear today. I encourage you to reach out to us, revenconcepts.com, get yourself a consultation, even if it's just a call in to figure out how you can work on the things that you need to be working on in your life, because your journey is going to be different. You're an individual that understands that, hey, maybe I could be doing something a little bit better, or maybe I could be more effective in a certain area. And so come in with your questions, come in with your mindsets, come in with your plans and your goals and your aspirations in life. And we're going to begin to come up with a plan that you can immediately implement so you can get to where you need to be without the fog and only clear views.